Just sit tight because this is going to be a long one. Hey everyone, so I want to apologize about the length of the video first because, like I said, it's going to be a long one. I've gotten all these things from thrift stores, through trades, and just a couple of new things as well. So in no particular order, let's get to the first set of items. So first up, I went to a Value Village for $3. I found these here. What these are mini mates, and at first I'm like, these have to be something like brand new that I've just never heard of. But apparently these have been around for over a decade and I've just never heard of them. I'm gonna see what I can do with these. Maybe I'll just trade them towards something else. On the same day where I found those mini mates, I also found this morpher right here. And honestly, I do not even know which one this is.
Power Rangers Dino Charge!
I guess there's the answer, so it's from Dino Charge. But this one here seems to have this empty space on the inside. I don't know if something else went in there, what the deal was exactly, but there is going to be some more Power Ranger stuff later on in this video. On another day, I went to the same Value Village, just because it's the closest one to me, but it's not necessarily the easiest one to get to, and they don't usually have a lot of stuff. But I went to look anyways, and I happened to find something in the toy section again. It was a card game of sorts, and it was a card game that I had been meaning to try out for quite some time. I saw them in one bag together for $3, and I thought definitely now's the time to get these. First up is Boss Monster, the dungeon building card game, and then there was also Boss Monster 2. And very happy to have found these. They're both in like perfect condition. I'm surprising myself with the amount of things that I found at this particular Value Village. And on the same day, I really lucked out in terms of this next find. So I'm looking through all the bags of toys there, and then I see this one, and I know immediately I am definitely 100% getting these. It was basically a bag full of old school Power Rangers morphers. I'll start out with the worst condition one. It is the Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue Titanium Morpher, and this one here originally had a wrist strap on it, and the part where the wrist strap goes through is broken off, so that kind of sucks, but at least it looks presentable. Next one is just the generic Lightspeed Rescue Morpher right there, and none of these have batteries in them, so I can't really play the sounds and lights for you guys to see in here. The next one is the oldest one out of all of these, the Power Rangers Turbo Morpher, but this one here is missing the turbo key, so that sucks with that. And then the last one out of all these morphers is the Power Rangers Wild Force Lunar Collar. And this Lunar Collar is pretty much just a wolf's head, and it flips open to look like a cell phone. Now, I don't really remember much from Wild Force because I was like 11 or 12 when it was first airing, so sorry about that. But I did like watching this. Pretty much I think the only thing I can remember about this version of Power Rangers was that there was a floating turtle-shaped island or something like that. But either way, very happy to find all these Power Rangers morphers. Now to the next item, I went to Buy and Sell Kings, and I go to their store pretty frequently. I found this toy there, and I'm very happy to add this to my collection. It is a Megabyte toy from Reboot, and this one is the toy that had the retractable claw feature. I've been looking for more and more Reboot toys, but very few people bought them, and very few people who bought them bothered to keep them. From there, I went to the thrift store that's just down the street from me. They were doing a 50% off sale, and I happened to notice that they had a couple more Game Boy games. I went ahead, took a look through what was there. A lot of crap, but at least I found this one decent game that works just fine. It is a copy of Mario Kart Super Circuit, and the price they had on it was just $6.99. so I only paid $3.50 for that. Now moving on to some stuff that I got through a trade, I took some random crap into GameSwap and looking around, and I see this here, and at first I'm like, is that a transformer? I can't really tell. So I asked if you could take it out of the case, and I look at it closer, and from my understanding this is some kind of a GoBot, but I might be wrong about that. Please correct me. I'm not going to transform it right now, but you'll be able to see what it looks like transformed. I also got this game here. It's for the Game Boy Color, and it is Croc 2. Now I think the Croc games were also released on PS1, so I don't know how this version of it looks compared to that. I'm gonna assume that it's much worse, but it caught my eye and I thought about grabbing this before, so I had the credit now and I went for it. Now on another visit to Buy and Sell Kings, I was looking through their Transformers case. I saw this in the Beast Wars case, and first I just asked to get a closer look at it, and then once I had this in my hands I knew immediately I had to ask how much. It cost me just $10, and it is the Titanium Series Cheetor, and I really like this one. It's not entirely made out of metal, but a bunch of it is made out of metal. It looks very nice, in really good shape. The only thing that was missing was the base and his two sword weapons, but otherwise in really good shape. Really happy to have that in my collection. Moving on from that Cheetor toy is something that I had ordered from Amazon, and I've had terrible luck ordering stuff from Amazon. It seems like every time I order something, it either never shows up, or shows up and breaks immediately, or just like some other problem, because I've had a lot of issues with Amazon. I had a credit of $25 on my account, and I finally put it towards something that showed up and was exactly what I expected. I got this Gundam model kit from Mobile Suit Gundam 00. It is the Razor plus GN Sword 3. This is the box for it right here. I already put it together. You can see here there is the figure itself. It's a nice one. At first I thought maybe it was a transforming one. It's just a combining figure instead, but still looks very nice in its individual parts and combined together. Moving on to the next items. These items that I got were from a small store. It was a weird store, but they were going out of business and everything was 70% off. So I was able to get this set of Ninja Turtles toys for just 20 bucks. Originally they wanted about $20 each for these, but I got all four of them for $20. So very happy about that. Now these aren't the official ones, but they are fairly decent figures either way, and I like what they look like and the fact that they come with all their accessories, so happy about that. Donatello over here has a very limp waist and doesn't really want to stand up that well. Not sure how well you can see that, but you can see it's really loose. And that kind of sucks, but the rest of them are perfectly acceptable. Next we have Michelangelo, and all of them came with their weapons. You can see both of his nunchucks back there on his shelf. Then we have Leonardo with his two swords, and the last one is Raphael with his size there on the front. And they took a little bit of force to plug into their stands, but at least the stands were included as well, because I do not see these standing up on their own without them. Next up, in the same vein as those fake Ninja Turtle toys, is the next item that I got here, and this one I honestly don't know if it's real or fake. I'm working under the suspicion that this is fake, because I can't see any way that somebody bought the official one legitimately and was selling it for just $15 in Canada, because that's just ridiculous and unheard of. Because if this was official, this would have been marked up so high, it would have been like 50 bucks. But what it is a plush from the Pokemon Center in Tokyo. It is a substitute Pikachu toy, And if anybody out there is able to help me identify this, this is the tag that it came with. That's it on the inside and the backside of it as well. But this is him with the substitute costume on, and then when you take that off, that is the Pikachu himself. And he definitely looks a little wonky, but again, just let me know in the comment section below if you have any experience with these at all. Now, this next deal that I got was just absolutely amazing. It didn't cost me a cent. The stuff that I initially got, I got from a cousin of mine who did like Star Wars way back in the day. One time, many years ago, he had, and this kind of annoys me, but he had a PS1 with a bunch of games, took it to Greece not realizing that, hey, it wouldn't work on a TV in Greece. And he ended up thinking, hey, it must be broken, threw it out. Long story short, after I already told you the long story, is that I kind of got annoyed that he just went ahead and threw stuff out. So I told him, please, if you ever find anything else that you think I would even remotely be interested in, and you just want to get rid of it, let me know, send it over to me. I want it, I'm interested, please give it to me. So, what I got from him were a couple of Star Wars related stuff. And while I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, I do appreciate it, but I'm much more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan. But what he had were, and this is the part that really sucks, but he used to have a whole bunch of the smaller action figures from the late 70s, early 80s, but most of them were long gone, and the only one that was really left was this guy over here, Tebow, just one of the Ewoks, and I was able to put together a complete set of him with all of his accessories, but the rest of the stuff was just, it was unexpected. He had gotten rid of all his action figures, but he still had all of his accessory pieces, and I knew immediately that this was worth something. So I went ahead, looked it up, as most people should. If there's ever something that you're not too familiar with, just go ahead, look it up anyways, see what it's selling for on average. Just don't try to be that guy and try to get top dollar out of it. So I had seen that all these older Star Wars accessories would sell anywhere from $5 to $30, $40, $50, depending on what the accessory was. And considering that there were about 50 pieces altogether, I knew that I had something here. So I went ahead, took them to this local store. They are looking to expand, and their store is called Treehouse Collectibles. It's just at Salmon and Dawnlands. It's relatively close to where I live. I knew that they dealt in a lot of G.I. Joe stuff and a couple of other things that are in the same scale. So Star Wars toys were in the same scale. And then they also have a lot of older Transformers and a lot of random things in between. Tons of Power Rangers and other things that are related to that as well. And I thought, you know what, this would be the perfect store. I knew that they had a whole bunch of Star Wars figures that weren't necessarily complete, so I thought they could definitely use them, and I'm not gonna gouge them. So at the end of the day, we decided on a trade. I was able to get a bunch of stuff that I really wanted, and what I ended up getting from them as part of this trade were a couple of older Transformers. Now I forget which ones these are exactly, but the first I'm going to show you guys are 2 parts of Devastator. They're 2 of the 6 Constructicons. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but yeah, I believe there are 6 Constructicons. And here we have the cement truck, and then here is whatever this is escaping my mind right now. But the only downside to this guy is that he's missing his little cab-like roof thing that went off at the top there. So it's not a big deal, but it's not complete, but it's still in pretty good condition. And both of them were a little bit dirty, but I did clean them up. Next up, I got this guy over here, Cup. He's not the most interesting Transformer in vehicle mode. and he's missing his gun, so he kind of looks sort of empty in the back there. But I still like the character, and I did want to get this toy, so I'm happy to finally have it in my collection. And the main thing that I traded for was this guy over here, Galvatron, and he came with everything, all his pieces, absolutely perfect condition, except for, of course, the stickers. You can't really find a Transformer from the 80s with all the stickers in mint condition, unless of course the stickers were never applied and then you're buying it brand new in box, but then that's a whole other scenario over there that I'm not willing to deal with. They did have a couple other things that I was kind of interested in. They had a Masterpiece Megatron for $120, which is a really good deal. I did want to get a Masterpiece Soundwaves, but they didn't happen to have one at the time, so that kind of sucked. But I was looking around to see all the different things they had, and I noticed a lot of toys that I'm definitely going to think about going back to their store to pick up. But for the time being, this is what I got. Now, the last item that I want to share with you guys is the largest item out of all these things that I showed you, and it is a little disappointing, a little lackluster, but not too bad at the end of the day. I am really happy that this finally came out. It is a video game collector's edition for the Nintendo Switch. It came out on all current gen consoles. It is the collector's edition of Sonic Mania, and I'm not going to bother to go ahead and go through this whole thing. The annoying part about this here is that it did not come with a physical copy of the game. Why the hell would they release a physical collector's edition with no physical game? Okay? Just a download code in this gigantic ass box. Just a download code. And that annoyed me so very much. Now, nothing negative about the game itself. I am enjoying the game. It's just that this collector's edition, while I was getting very anxious for this and I wanted to see it, I wanted to finally get this, I was also disappointed when I finally got it, and it felt cheaper than I expected it to feel, and then seeing that there was no physical copy of the game as well. Now, like, the extra things that they added in were of a decent quality, but it was just a disappointment that they were just completely random things. Like, they included something that looks like a Genesis cartridge, but it's not a cartridge, it's just a case for a metal ring, a metal gold Sonic ring. It just makes no sense to me that they would release something like that when they could have just as easily done maybe a port of it for the Genesis, or something else other than a cartridge. Maybe they could have made a cartridge that slots into the statue itself, as it looks like a Genesis, but they didn't do that either. Instead, you just have this plastic case that looks like a Genesis cartridge. That's an argument for another day, and I have made a blog post on my website about how lackluster it was, but overall still enjoying the experience of the game, and still happy to have this collector's edition, even though, like I said, no physical copy of the game is included. But yeah, that's all that I got. As always, leave comments in the comment section below. Anything you'd like to say, comments, questions, suggestions, ideas, anything at all, just put in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Check out my Facebook, Twitter, and website. They're all linked in the description below, and also linked in the description below is a link to my 500 subscribers contest. Check that out as well if you'd like, and that's it. See ya.